Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now, after a couple of weeks of videos in Italian, we're back to English, and as I promised, this is the English version of the first video I posted a couple of weeks ago. Now, we are going to play in a single player. We're going to start in 1936 and we're going to play as Italy. Now, the purpose of this run was to make an improved version of my first ever guide on how to reform the Roman Empire. In this guide, we're going to become much more powerful than with that original guide. We're going to conquer the Balkans, we're going to conquer Turkey, we are going to dominate World War II, and then we are going to reform the Roman Empire. That being said, the original guide is a bit more detailed, more videos, longer. If you're a beginner, you may still want to check that out, and if you're interested, I will put the link up here so that you can do that. Well, that being said, I think we can start. Now, if you follow the channel, you already know this, but all of the researches and focuses will be in the description of this video. I will try to talk about the most important ones from time to time during the video, but all of them are in the description anyways. Now, in terms of buildings, we are going to build full civilian factories in Toscana and in Lazio. Don't worry about the infrastructures, we will get them through our focus. In terms of production, we're going for 7 dedicated to infantry equipment, 4 factories to support equipment, 2 to towed artillery, 4 to trucks, 1 to both type of planes. We're going to change them later, but they have good efficiency. So for now, we'll keep producing these ones, and 1 to civilian trains. For the navy production, you can do as you prefer, but what I like doing is reducing the production of the heavy ships and increasing the production of the smaller ones. And then I will also prioritize them over the heavier ones, like this. At the beginning of the game, I also like changing the occupation law to local police force. And I also switched the Somali Sultanate to no garrison at all. And the independent state of Croatia, since it has already high compliance, to civilian oversight. We also don't want any garrison in Eritrea. For what concerns our planes, I like disbanding all of them first. Then I reassign them to the Ethiopian region. Time to take care of our armies. We're going to set up 2 armies, one on the northern front and one on the southern front of Ethiopia. Make sure to assign them a marshal. I use Rodolfo Graziani. For the northern general, which is more important, I like using Sebastiano Visconti Prasca. The southern one is less important, but I usually use Zingales. Now, we want to assign all of our remaining divisions to these 2 generals. We want to give all of the Alpini divisions to the northern army. In addition to that, we're also going to give him a couple of infantry divisions.
Pronto, signore.
While everything else goes to the southern army.
Pronto, signore.
At this point, we can start planning our offensive against Ethiopia. And we're going to do that with an offensive line to Addis Abeba.
Pronto.
Going to do the same from the southern part. And our 2 armies are more or less ready, but we are going to wait for the air superiority before we start the offensive. There is one last thing that we need to do before we start, and that is to recruit some new units. Specifically, we are going to recruit 17 divisions of infantry and 3 divisions of light tanks. The last thing we need to do is we need to adjust the trade. We want to import some rubber. You can do it from wherever you want. You can use British Malaya. Okay, now that our initial setup is done, you may want to save the game just in case something goes wrong. And before we start our offensives in Ethiopia, we can also change the motorization priority to maximum on our marshal, and we can make them execute battle plans aggressively. Now that our planes are deployed and the air superiority is green everywhere, we can start our offensives from both sides. Now, during this offensive, we want to be careful to not level up our general before we get a bold attack. We may have to switch him a couple of times. Usually this is not a problem for the southern army, but from the northern army it is, because he gets a lot of experience. So as soon as he's around 80-90%, we want to switch him to another one. Now, after you conquer the first 2 regions, my suggestion is to select a group of your army and tell them to just keep attacking all of the border regions of Ethiopia. Something like this. Okay, our general is dangerously close to leveling up, so we're going to switch him for Ezio Rossi. You don't need to micromanage your units, but you may want to force them to attack a bit more, because otherwise they tend not to do it too much. After you conquer another 2 regions, you should get a message. There we go. Success in North Ethiopia. This gives you enough army experience to pick a bold attack. Now, from now on, we can freely level our generals. Oh, he did as well. Look at these stats. After only one level up, these are very good stats. That's why bold attack can be very beneficial. We're going to use this general a lot in our run. Now, thanks to the fact that we attacked the flank of Ethiopia, we were able to finish the war very fast and without even taking the capital, Addis Ababa. We're going to just select everything and we're going to take all of Ethiopia. Now, what we want to do is we want to change the garrisons in Ethiopia because we don't want to waste our manpower there. So we will select no garrison for the entire Ethiopian region. Now that the war in Ethiopia is done, we are sending back our armies to the mainland, and I have been splitting them into several different armies depending on the type of soldiers in it. Infantry, motorized and cavalry, the Camicenere, here we have the Irregolari, and here we have the Alpini divisions. We are also going to train all of them. You can press shift and click here, and they will only train up to regular and then stop training automatically. I also assigned the Camicenere to area defense in the region of Rodi. We will need them here later. As we get to 150 political power, we are going to pick the silent workhorse. Now, as soon as you finish researching the range improvements, you want to design the new CAS. I am going to use this design for our CAS. We also are going to change the production of both planes to the new CAS. And you can allow convert from stockpile to make them cheaper and faster to create. And let's change the second one too. Let's do the same thing. Now, as soon as we get to 50 political power, we want to pick the army organization expert to get more army experience. Around the same time, we should also be getting the new divisions that we started recruiting, and we are going to assign them to our main army, and we keep training them as well. Around this point, you should also get free dockyards, and you can start building your heavier ships. You can manage the navy as you want. It's not going to be particularly important for our run. Now, in the researchers, you will find Dispersed Industry 1, and that's because I usually use Dispersed Industry. But recently, with Italy, I have been testing Concentrated Industry, and I found it to be pretty good, especially once you reform the Roman Empire. This is going to get insane. So you can give it a try. You can test Concentrated Industry. You can let me know in the comments which one you prefer between the two as well. Now, after your first army is full, you can start gathering the new infantry we recruited in a newer army. As you get to 35 army experience, remember to take Professional Officer Corps. The earlier you take it in the game, the more value you get out of it. At this point, we're also going to build infrastructures and full civilian factories in Emilia-Romagna and in Campania. Now, when you get the message that you need more resources to build your ships, my suggestion is to start building convoys and dedicate most of your dockyards to the convoys. And you can do something like this. You leave 3 empty slots up here in the convoys. They are going to build forever. The remaining dockyards are going to be assigned to the navy. You can do it differently, but I usually like to do it this way. Once the civil war in Spain starts, we want to send some volunteers, air volunteers as well. We are going to use the Alpini for that. Naturally, historically, we should send them to nationalist Spain, to fascist Spain. But I usually send them to democratic Spain because we get some better events from time to time by doing this. It doesn't change much in the sense that we are not going to try to win the war, we're just going to try to gather some additional experience. You can send your bombers to Spain, that's my suggestion. I also forgot to remove them from Ethiopia. Around the same time, we should get also a spy. If you have a seducer, of course, go for the seducer, and you can start spying on Turkey. We are going to spy Turkey in an area like Trabzon, not in the capital, because here our spies are less likely to be caught. Now, once this research is completed, we want to design our new fighters, but it may take some time before you get enough air experience to do so. You need around 9 air experience for that. After completing the focus, I'm actually slightly late, you also get enough political power to get the Captain of Industry. And we're also going to start justifying on Sofia as soon as possible. We want a claim on Bulgaria. We could have done it a bit earlier, but it's still fine, in August 1936. Don't forget this, because this is an important step. As we get more political power, we can also get our ground support expert for additional air experience. And at this point, we should get very quickly enough air experience for our new fighter designs. For fighters, we are going to use this design. We're going to change the production of one of the two lines of CAS. This one, we're going to switch them to fighters. And we're going to bring the production of both to 2, and we're going to take those 2 factories from guns. We're going to reduce the guns to 5. Now, as soon as you complete the Focus Balkan ambition, you want to send a ultimatum to Yugoslavia. But before doing that, we also want to deploy all of our remaining training units. And that's because I believe the more units you have, the more likely Yugoslavia is to accept the ultimatum. I'm not 100% certain about that, but I got that impression. In any case, Yugoslavia tends to accept the ultimatum every time. But just to be safe, you may want to save the game just before that. And then let's send our ultimatum. And as you can see, Yugoslavia submitted, so everything went as planned. After that happens, you also want to take all of their armies. We're actually going to assign them to a different theater, a defensive theater, and you can pick any general you want, but one with the star, which has more entrenchment, is going to be fine for them. We're not going to use them much, actually. And then we are going to assign them with a fallback line to the border with Romania and Bulgaria and also Greece. And the main purpose is to scare these countries and occupy some of their forces on this border. We're not actually going to fight with the Yugoslavian army. We're also going to send our irregular army to the same front here to the south of Yugoslavia. And we're also going to send our Alpini divisions, the remaining ones, the ones that are not in Spain, to the southern border of Yugoslavia. Now it is time to start planning our future expansion. The first war we are going to start is against Greece, so we can start planning our naval invasion already from now. Around the same time, you should also have enough intel to start making a collaboration government in Turkey. We're going to do that right away. I suggest you press automatically repeat. This is a little trick, because otherwise I always miss the notification of when the collaboration government is done. By pressing here, they are not going to repeat it, but you're going to get a notification and you're going to know that your collaboration government is done. The other thing that I suggest doing is switching from build Intel network to quiet Intel network while your collaboration government is being prepared, because we don't need any more intel, and in this way they cannot be caught. Now for the invasion of Greece, we are going to use our main army. We are going to start a naval invasion from Messina, and we are going to send 3 divisions to Athens, 3 divisions to Corinthos, 3 divisions up here, and the last one here. Now as you get to 97, 98 political power, you can also pick Danieli industrial concern. As you get to 100 political power, you can pick the infantry expert. Next, as soon as we get to 127 political power, we want to get war economy. As the war approaches, we are going to assign our planes to southern Italy and Yugoslavia to get the air superiority over Greece. However, before we start this war, we want to wait until we get the claim on Turkey. As soon as this focus is done, we are going to start our wars in the Balkans. There we go, we got our claim on Turkey, we are ready to start the wars in the Balkans, and look at that, perfectly on time, we also got our justification of Bulgaria. So everything is ready for our conquer of the Balkans. Now before doing that, maybe it's a good idea to save the game, especially because if you save the game after starting this series of wars, there is a bug that may happen, which is that Romania, if you reload the game, will call the allies into the war. Now that's not something you want, there are a couple of ways to avoid that, I will talk about it a bit later, but the best way to avoid it is not to reload the game after starting this series of wars. Okay, so now that everything is ready for our wars, we want to start all of these wars at the same time. So we're going to declare war to Bulgaria, we're going to declare war to Greece, we are going to declare war to Turkey at the same time. And since Romania is guaranteeing them, we are also going to be at war with Romania. There we go. Now we need our navy to give us the naval superiority in these regions. We can start our naval invasion of Greece. Now here is why we assigned these units to Rodi, so that we protect these islands from Turkey. And let's see how the naval invasion of Greece goes. This is usually not a particularly difficult naval invasion. There is a little bit of RNG depending on where they position their troops. Looks like they are not defending Athens much. Now with the 3 divisions that we disembark here, you can try to conquer this entire area. And the third one can go to Athens to make sure that we get it as fast as possible. Okay, see, we got the notification, although I clicked on it very quickly, and that means we completed our collaboration government in Turkey, and we can now send our spies up to Romania for the next collaboration government that we're going to make in Romania. Now, we should also have enough political power to get tactical bombing for some additional ground support. Okay, we got Athens without problems, that's very nice. And now we are going to start attacking the northern part of Greece. Now that we got a harbor, we can also send all of the remaining divisions to Greece. Now again, I clicked very quickly, I'm sorry about that, but as soon as you get the message about the completed industrialization program, you want to switch your focus from civilian factories to military factories, which means we are going to reduce the production of civilian factories to just the ones that we are already building, and we are going to start building military factories. We're going to build military factories in all of the 100% regions, so Campania, Lazio, Toscana, Piemonte, Emilia Romagna, and then also in Lombardia, but with infrastructures first, and in Abruzzo, also with infrastructures first. Something like this. Okay, now that our naval invasion is completed, we can start planning a new naval invasion. We're going to use our secondary army of 10 for this. And we're going to select only 2 of them, this time, 2 at a time, to conquer the island of Crete. This is not always necessary, sometimes the war ends before you conquer Crete, but just in case you get stuck in northern Greece, this may speed up the war a little bit. And the war in Greece is done. Now, what we want to do here is we want to take their navy and we want to take everything they have. Now, here I suggest pausing the game right away because there are a couple of things that we need to do. But first of all, we also completed the focus army primacy. First of all, we're going to switch our doctrine to superior firepower. So we're going to pick superior firepower. And we are also going to add smoke and fire to our spirits. And we're going to change our preferred tactic to suppressive barrage. We're also going to change the production of fighters and casks to 3. We're going to reduce the production of trucks to 3. And then we're going to increase the production of guns to 10, support equipment to 5, and towered artillery to 5. Before unpausing the game, there are a couple of more things that we need to do, because now we have this front against Turkey and Bulgaria completely undefended. So we want to assign some divisions to protect this front, and for that we're going to use the irregolari divisions that were there already from before. I suggest you use a full back line, and you assign them somewhere like here. We don't care too much about these territories, we're going to lose them anyways, but we don't want to lose Thessaloniki. And we're also going to send the Alpini, including the ones returning from Spain, to this same border. It is also time to start thinking about defeating Turkey, and for that we're going to use once again our main army, also assign infantry expert whenever possible. We're going to start planning a naval invasion from Athens to the southern coast of Turkey. I usually go for this harbor and I send 3 divisions here, 3 divisions here, 3 divisions here, and the last one here. We also need to change the focus of our planes because we need to go for Turkey now. And when you get enough air experience for the air doctrines, remember to always pick the spirits first. You go for air crew surveys and centralized control. Our naval invasion is ready, so we can start the invasion of Turkey. Now, as soon as you get to 150 political power, you want to get the war industrialist. Our naval invasion in the southern part of Turkey was successful, so we can now prepare an offensive. Our goal is to conquer the entire southern part of Turkey. At this point, we can also send our motorized divisions to this area. There are some plain regions in here, so we can start planning an offensive for the capital of Turkey. At the same time, we can also plan another naval invasion with our secondary army from Athens to this area of Turkey. So I send 3 to Izmir, and then 3 here, 3 here, and the last one up here. Once the front is stabilized on this side, you can switch from a fallback line to a proper front line, and you can even prepare an offensive order, with the Alpini at least, to conquer this part of Bulgaria. We can also send our Irregolari and give them the same offensive order. Now, once the naval invasion is ready, I suggest starting the naval invasion and your offensive in southern Turkey at the same time to keep the Turkish army as busy as possible. Around this time, you should also be able, or almost able, to start a collaboration government in Romania. So keep an eye on this. You want to start this collaboration government as soon as possible. And now we are ready. So let's do it. And as usual, let's switch our spies to quiet intel network. Now with this army, which invaded this area of Turkey, we can start planning an offensive for Istanbul. And we can start it right away, since they don't seem to have many divisions in this area. Now, despite the collaboration government, Turkey takes quite a while to go down. So we're going to grind them down slowly as we conquer the most important areas. Meanwhile, as soon as you get to 127 political power, you want to pick the artillery designer. More or less at the same time, you will have completed the focus for increased artillery production, which means our artillery is going to be produced and researched very fast. Now, if the war is taking a bit too long, you can use the same trick we used against Ethiopia. You select some of your armies and you assign them in offensive order to conquer all of the side regions of Turkey. These ones are not likely to be protected. Now, we also want to increase the production of guns to 15 and the production of artillery to 10. As you get to about 50 political power, you can pick army regrouping. Around this time, you should also be starting the invasion of Bulgaria. At least our secondary army got to Istanbul and it's getting ready to advance into Bulgaria. And Turkey is finally defeated. Now, from Turkey, we want to get the navy, and then we want to get everything for ourselves. Now, our last obstacle remaining is Romania. Bulgaria is not really much of a fight, so let's get ready for that. Now, against Romania, we want to conquer everything. We want to push as much as possible. But this side, this flank of Romania will be less defended than the other ones. So we may want to use our motorized from here with a spearhead and a goal to conquer as much of Romania as possible. We also want to make sure to assign all of our planes to this region. Now, this is entirely optional, but once you get to 50 political power, if you want, you can make Mussolini take over the Ministry of Corporations to further increase your factory and dockyard output. And I believe we can now start all of our offensives against Romania and Bulgaria. It's time to get to the end of this war. Now, since we assigned the Yugoslavian army on this front, both Romania and Bulgaria kept a lot of divisions protecting the front against Yugoslavia, which means that we are basically advancing without any resistance on this side of Romania. We're actually advancing even a bit too fast. We don't exactly want to capitulate Romania until the collaboration government is done. So we may want to slow down a little bit with our offensive so that it finishes at the same time as the collaboration government. It's actually going to be fairly close, but this push is going particularly well. A bit better than usual, to be honest. Probably because most of their divisions are pinned down here and they cannot retreat. That being said, usually they do not capitulate until you take Cluj. Okay, this is Bulgaria, that's fine. About Bulgaria, we're just going to take everything from them. Now, actually, while we wait for the collaboration government to be done, let me tell you one more thing. As I said, if you reload the game once you started this war, it's likely that Romania calls the UK into the war, the allies into the war, and that's not what you want. So how do you prevent that from happening? Well, if you do not reload the game, as you can see, that doesn't happen. That never happens. However, if you have to reload the game, if you fuck up something with your invasions here, there is another way to prevent that from happening. And it is not to defeat Turkey before the December of 1937. In December 1937, Romania changes from democratic to non-aligned. And after they turn non-aligned, they can no longer call the Allies into the war. Now, for some reason, they do not call the Allies as long as you're at war with Turkey. But once the war with Turkey is over, they call the Allies if you reloaded the game, unless you waited until December 1937. There we go, we got Romania as well. Now, for Romania, you may annex everything, and you may want to do that, but there are 3 territories we cannot core in Romania once we form the Roman Empire. Those 3 territories are these 3, and so for these ones, I usually prefer to puppet them, while everything else we can take. Remember to take the navy, and that's it. It's December 1937, and we already completed our conquer of the Balkans. Now it is time to increase the production of our planes a little bit. We're going to increase the production of F1 to 7 and C1 to 6. We're also going to build more military factories in all of the 100% provinces, of course, but also in Veneto, together with infrastructures, and in Sicily, together with infrastructures. Make sure to prioritize the ones that were already being built first. You can now also use your spies to root out the resistance in the areas where it's needed the most. As you get to 100 political power, you can pick the air warfare theorist. Now that the war is done, we need to do some preparation. We will not fight any more wars until World War II, but we need to prepare very well for the war. So, first of all, we are going to ask Germany to join their faction. After they accept, we are going to send our entire fleet to Germany. We can send them all to this harbor in northern Germany. The reason we are doing this is that after the war starts, the UK will have the control of Gibraltar, and it will be impossible for us to send our fleet to northern Germany. So we need to do it now in order to use that fleet to invade the UK later in the war. Now we are also going to start claiming France. We can use one of the claim states so that it will never expire, like Somaliland, for example. We are now going to make some adjustments, some very important adjustments to our divisions. First of all, we're going to duplicate our infantry division, and we are going to create what will be our defensive army. This, which I call def, is going to be our defensive template to protect less relevant fronts. We're also going to change our regular infantry to offensive. We're going to make them elite, and we're going to increase their size significantly, combat weight, and all of the relevant stats as well. We now want to recruit 14 of these new offensive divisions, as well as 2 additional armies of 24 defensive divisions. And another army of 20 defensive divisions, but we cannot do that yet because we don't have enough divisions on the ground. Slowly, gradually, we are going to have 14 offensive, 2 armies of 24 defensive, and another army of 20 defensive. Now, as soon as we get to 127 political power, we are going to struggle with our manpower with all of these new divisions, so we want to change from limited conscription to extensive conscription. In terms of naval production, you can do whatever you want, but I produce more and more convoys after I'm done with my heavy ships, because convoys are very useful for a little trick which I will show you in the next video. Now pay attention to this focus, because here the timing is very important. As soon as this gets done, the new Emperor of Ethiopia, you should have a few days left on the mission Pacify Ethiopia. Depends on when you defeated Ethiopia. In our case it was very fast, so we only have a few days left. And now let me show you a little trick on how to complete this mission extremely easily. Now, if you remember, we completely ignored Ethiopia. We didn't assign any garrisons there. The resistance is crazy high. They're about to go into a revolution, and we would never complete this mission except by taking the Ministry of Italian Africa and the new Emperor of Ethiopia. We are able to establish Africa Orientale Italiana. By doing this, our Ethiopia becomes a puppet, and immediately we complete the mission to pacify Ethiopia, which gives us some very nice political power, base stability and command power. Done. Now that we get 3 military factories, we are going to increase our towered artillery production to 25. As soon as possible, we are also going to pick the light aircraft designer. Now, as we get 3 military factories, we are going to start producing some anti-air. We're going to bring the production to 5. As we get even more 3 military factories, we are going to increase our production of guns to 25. As you get your new divisions, assign them to different armies, groups of 24 of course, and remember to train them all. If possible, we want all of them to be regular by the time the war starts. Now, as you get more free civilian factories, we are going to build infrastructures and full civilian factories in Sardinia, and then we are going to start doing that in the Yugoslavian territories. We need to do this to decrease their autonomy so that we can annex them later on. So we can start building infrastructures and military factories in all of the Yugoslavian regions, or most of the Yugoslavian regions anyways. As we get 3 military factories, we can increase the production of F1 fighters to 50. Now, after you're done recruiting all of the divisions we were preparing, we can start assigning them to the several fronts we will be covering in World War II. Of course, I will show this assignment again in the next video, dedicated to the war. But since you need to prepare them before the actual war starts, I'll show you how I do it. We're going to assign our main army to the border with France, with an offensive command to attack the southern part of France. Our secondary army is at the border with Poland, with a spearhead offensive command to conquer as much of Poland as they can. Same exact thing for our motorized in the northern part of Poland. Our Alpini are covering and defending the harbors in northern Africa. Our Irregolari are ready to push into France. Our first defensive army is staying in Italy with a full back line ready to defend Italy from any naval invasion. The secondary one is assigned to this front. They haven't reached it yet, but they will be here with an offensive command to conquer Syria. And the last defensive army is not there yet, but will have an offensive order to conquer this part of Egypt. We use a Yugoslavian army here, ready to protect Greece and Turkey from possible naval invasions by the UK. We use the volunteers from Romania to protect this front and push into Poland from here. And we use the Camicie Nere to protect Sardinia and eventually attack Corsica from here. Now, as soon as you finish this focus, Engines 3, it's time to design our new fighters and produce as many of them as possible before the war starts. After the war starts, we will not be able to get access to enough rubber to continue producing these planes, so we need to do it now as much as possible. For our fighters, we are going to use this design, and of course we are going to switch the production of F1 to F2. At the same time, we are also going to decrease the production of artillery to only 10. We're also going to add anti-air to our divisions, the offensive divisions, of course. We are going to start a claim on Poland. And we're going to start using our spies to spy Spain. Now, our preparations for the war are basically entirely completed. Now, around July 1939, you should also get enough intel to start your collaboration government in Spain. So let's go on and do that. As you get enough army experience, you can keep developing your superior firepower doctrine. I suggest going down the right path here. These two doctrines give insane soft attack to your support companies and are extremely valuable. Of course, whenever possible, you can start decreasing the autonomy of Italian Yugoslavia. Now, it is the end of August, which means that World War II is about to start, and we are ready for it. There we go. Poland refuses the German ultimatum, which means the war is going to start in 1 day. We are perfectly ready for it. In fact, we got our claim on Poland, so we are ready to start the war as soon as Germany starts it. We will also start, of course, our offensive against France as well, but this is all for the next video. So, don't miss the next video. It's going to be released next week as usual. It is going to cover in detail everything we are going to do in World War II, of course, as well as the remaining few wars after World War II in order to complete the reformation of our Roman Empire. Now, a lot of work went into this guide. I don't know if you can notice it, but in addition to the strategy, something like the focuses, the researches, the timing for picking certain designers and so on, it's all perfectly calculated to the same day. As you saw, like when we got the mission of pacifying Ethiopia with only 7 days left, everything was calculated to the smallest details. I'm very happy with this strategy. I think this is one of my most refined strategies. So if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments what you think about it. Also, if you have any ideas on how to improve, further improve this strategy, feel free to let me know. I'm always looking for ways to improve my own strategies. Other than that, of course, as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next week with World War II. Bye, guys.